Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Tim, Braden, Second Legacy. This is going to be one of those things. I've found all Tim's buttons, and I've got them honed in like a laser sight, and we're just going to push them until he explodes because they're going after gun shops again. This is something near and dear to all of our hearts, but this, you're going to need to see how Tim reacts. Now, everything that I'm going to show you is going on right now in the District of Columbia. You know, that place where freedom should be the prime issue, but it's kind of not. Yeah. Let us hear from you guys on this one in the comments. Of course, that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. This is the place where we mix 2A humor, sarcasm, and a little bit of tyranny with some freedom to get that delicious freedom recipe. Tim, are you ready? Are your buttons ready? Because I think I'm going to hit some. I think I'm going to just go poke them all.
I'm not going to let you. Not going to happen.
Oh, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you on this one.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
We'll see. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's just roll the dice. I got some clips, and we're just going to see what happens. You guys can let us know in the comments field when you think I've gotten the buttons. All right. So here's the backstory. Tim, when these people get collected in a press conference, you know freedom abounds, right? With the D.C. Attorney General, with the Maryland Attorney General, and with Everytown Law Chief Litigation Officer suing gun shops because of criminals. You know that's going to be just a symposium of freedom, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to blame other people for the actions of criminals.
Exactly.
Never blame the criminal. Right. Blame the gun. Blame the gun shop. Blame, I don't know, the gas station that they pumped gas into their car to go commit a crime. Blame everybody, but please don't blame the criminal, especially if they're an illegal alien.
That's right. Can't do any of those things because criminality is the one thing that we can't help. But access to everything that they would use is the solution, of course. Yes. Like you said, gas, knives, cars, vehicles, guns, all of it together. Well, Tim, first we're going to start off with the District of Columbia's AG. Now, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong. That's a little backstory here. D.C., as in Washington, D.C., is not known for its gun rights. Am I right?
No, it's not known for freedom, liberty, cleanliness. It's for being the capital of our country. It is a complete mess. If you've ever been there, it's sketchy. It's unfortunate.
That's a good way to say it.
There are literally certain areas of DC you do not want to go into. They're so dangerous. Even the police don't want to go into them. It is really bad.
I think if, like, per their gun violence statistics, I think DC actually ranks like one of the highest in the nation.
It is. Yeah. It's in the top 3, I think. Yeah.
That's odd because, you know, the places that are the highest are gun control, gun-free zones. Mysteries abound, Tim, but I'm getting off of a tangent. That's the backstory, people. So let's dive into our nation's capital to find out how guns are the problem of everybody. All right, this Dr. Slides, hit the first timestamp starting at 1:45 and then go to 3:07.
I'm D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwab. I'm joined this morning by Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown, as well as by Eric Turell and our partners from Everytown Law. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the many advocates who are here, including Ryan Nickens of Trayron Center, who work every day on the front lines addressing and combating gun violence in our communities. We're gathered here today because of a case that took place right here in the U.S. federal court involving a Maryland resident named Demetrius Minor. In 2021, Mr. Minor walked into Engage Armament, a gun store in Rockville, Maryland, and purchased a 9mm handgun. The following week, he returned and purchased another one, and then a third, and a fourth, and a fifth. Within just 5 months, Mr. Minor bought 25 handguns from the same gun store. Indeed, he purchased 8 handguns within the span of just 2 weeks. Mr. Minor did the same thing at 2 other gun stores in Montgomery County, Maryland, Atlantic Guns and United Gun Shop.
Random question for everybody in the back who may not know. Is there a purchasing limit in the United States underneath the Second Amendment?
Yes and no. Are you restricted? Are you restricted from buying any number of guns that you want to? In most cases, no, you're not. However, if you buy more than one handgun, federal law requires the gun shop to send all that data, including your information, to the ATF so they can investigate. So everything he said there so far seems to indicate that all the gun safety laws that they have in place aren't working, or they're not doing what the law says, and now they're going to blame the gun store, who more than likely, I don't know, fulfilled their obligations under law to the ATF and reported those multi-purchases to ATF. ATF did not do anything. This is like this is like going and buying an NFA item, submitting your paperwork, paying your tax, getting a background check done, and then suing the gun shop for selling you the machine gun that the ATF and the FBI approved you for.
Yes, exactly correct.
So
that's exactly right.
I mean, this is just asinine on its face. And of course, they're not going to tell you what the actual federal laws are.
No, can't do that. That
puts the onus on the government for what they're suing these people for, if you want to point fingers.
Yeah. But I mean, I think to your point though, Tim, it's an interesting observation that you bring forward, because I'm pretty sure, I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong, this might be a thin veneer of sarcasm or 8 feet deep. I'm pretty sure when you buy a gun from NFFL, that you go through something called a 4473, which would be a background check and an actual NICS paperwork background check for FBI. Every single one.
Yep.
Okay,
every single one of those firearms would have been a 4473 form would have been done. A background check by the federal government would have been done, and the approval would have came from the ATF, because the ATF said no. They wouldn't have gotten the gun from the gun store.
Right. So it goes through the background check, goes through the FBI, goes to the ATF with a multi-purchase. And I believe Maryland actually has state-level background checks as well. Don't quote me on it.
There are states that do. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there are states that do.
There are states. Yeah.
That's a whole lot of gun control in a gun control state that seems to not be working, or at least that's what they're alleging.
It's not the federal government that approved the transaction. It's not the criminal that has a criminal intent. It's the gun store playing by the rules. That's what's at fault here. Let's make sure we put them in prison. Screw the criminal. Screw the criminal government. Let's put the innocent business and people in prison, or hold them financially liable for the actions of a criminal and a criminal government. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
nailed it. See that? Look at that. I got clip 1 out of 5, and I already got your buttons pushed.
Oh, shut up! I'm done.
Gotcha. No, you're not. No, you're not. We got more fun to explore. All right. So, and also remember, we get to hear from every town law, because it's not concerning when the main gun control litigation group in the United States is partnering with attorneys general. And that's not
no. There's nothing weird there. I mean, no.
Totally normal. Not at all biased. All right. So this is stamp number 2, Dr. Slides.
Now, these 3 gun stores that we've named as defendants are federal firearms licensees, or FFLs. As federal licensees, they are permitted to sell guns. They are trained and have a legal duty to watch out for straw purchasers like Mr. Minor. And they are required to refuse to sell guns to straw purchasers. It doesn't take a lot of common sense to figure out that someone trying to repeatedly buy the same semi-auto handgun over a short period of time is a straw purchaser and is buying the guns for illegal purposes. And yet, all 3 of these stores ignored the red flags and instead chose to sell guns to Mr. Minor anyway. They made a choice to put their profits over our public safety, a choice to put their profits over our people. Now, Mr. Minor paid for his crimes. He was prosecuted, convicted, and sentenced right here in this federal court. But the source of the illegal guns, the gun sellers who supplied Mr. Minor, have not been held accountable. As the sentencing judge in Mr. Minor's case, Judge Mehta, observed, it is too often the case.
You know what? For once, I'm in total agreement with this ass clown. Let's hold the people responsible accountable. It's the ATF, because they approve the purchase. Every single one of them.
Everyone. Absolutely. So here, I'm just going to throw a hypothetical out there, Tim, because you know how I like to get in the weeds a little bit and like really think outside the box sometimes. So they're actually laying out, Tim, and full transparency, you have a lot of experience in this exact same realm from a standpoint of the retail side of this. But let's just explore something.
And the gun buying side of it, dude, I have hundreds of guns.
That's true.
I've accumulated.
That's true.
Dude, I was in gun stores. I would buy more than one gun a month for many years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I was the
It's your
gun a
thing.
month club guy, but I would buy far more than one a month. And so, yeah, it's just insane to think that if you buy more than one gun, if you buy 2 or 3 or 4 of the same firearm, same type of firearm, you know how many Glocks I have? It's
Probably
ridiculous. Right. Every time they make a minor change from fish skills to non-fish skills on the 19, I want them. RTF 2 finish versus the standard finish. I want that on the grips. You know what I mean? It's like that's what collectors do. So you can't just say that somebody's being criminal. They have criminal intent because they buy guns.
Exactly.
How's
So
the gun store? Are we going to pass a law saying that the gun stores have to be clairvoyant and be able to read minds?
Exactly. That was it. That's where I was
Pre-crime?
going.
Yeah.
That thought crime and pre-crime. So this is where it gets really interesting for me, because if you are in a retail environment, right? So this guy is alleging that the gun shops have a responsibility with carrying basically the onus and the penalty of lawsuits if they don't do something that is not their responsibility. He's lining it up to say if someone lies to them and does something different than what they said they were going to on the 4473, then they're liable. That's not the way the law is written. That is not the way anything is written, because you have to understand intent. So now let's go on the other side of that. Imagine if a gun shop, Tim, again, your personal experience, said, hey, individual, I can't prove this, but I feel like that you're buying guns just to sell them on the streets. So I'm just going to, say you can't buy guns without any proof, anything at all. What do you think that would be the form of lawsuit? Maybe discrimination?
Yeah, depending on the person that was
Right.
told no, it could be a discrimination lawsuit.
Right.
Absolutely.
So they're
You've
damned
denied
over
me
here.
my rights.
They're damned if they don't. Exactly. You just nailed it. Then this exact same attorney general will come forward and say gun shops are discriminating people based off of X, Y, Z. Then they're going to be sued. Then they actually do what they're supposed to do and fulfill the federal licensee requirements, and then they get sued. It's almost like it's a catch-22 where you're going to get screwed either way, so you might as well go out of business.
And still, I just want to drive this point home, folks. Gun stores do not approve gun purchases. They don't. They're the middleman. They reach out to the federal government under U.S. law. They submit the information about the gun and the person buying it. They do a background check on that person. They have records of transactions. Of course, there are non-searchable databases that Diddlebum pays extra for, so they can't search it. But presumably, yeah. And so the federal government, the onus is now on them to approve or deny that transaction. And then they communicate that to the gun store, and the gun store either proceeds or does not proceed based upon the input from the federal government. So why is Diddlebum not facing a lawsuit right now?
So valid all over the place.
Well, they're not going to sue their gun grabbers.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't make any sense, does it? But I mean, by their logic, which is kind of devoid in this case, we should definitely go after all gun shops. By the way, you remember that little story that we did I think it was a couple of weeks ago, maybe about a month ago, where the DC Police Department was the only gun shop in the entire area of DC, and then they were selling crime guns to.
They were selling crime guns. The guns had gone missing. Yeah,
it's weird. It was
weird
how that
complete mess. Yeah,
it's
but we don't
weird
hear
how
about
there
that,
wasn't a lawsuit.
Why aren't they being sued? Why isn't the police department that ran that enterprise being sued by these people?
Enterprise. I'm so proud of you.
They're not going to go after their own gun grabbers.
No,
they're just
can't
not.
do that.
No.
Mm-hmm.
The DC Police Department could take all the guns that they have in lockup from various crime scenes and whatnot and just take them out and just dump them on the street and give them to everybody. No background checks, no nothing. And they would sue the gun shops that originally sold them, that then they were taken by the police, put into lockup, and the police dumped them on the streets, because really it's the gun shop's fault. And it's not the ATF or the police department that dumped them on it's the gun shop. Just the middleman. The guy, the middleman that can't sell a gun to anybody without approval from the government.
Right. But that's the gun shop. It's their fault.
Yeah, it's their fault.
Exactly right. Exactly right. I'm glad I'm still refusing to avoiding hitting your buttons. I'm glad we haven't stepped on any Tim landmines.
We're not going to do it. It's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. There will be no buttons pushed. I'm with you. Well, Tim, if this doesn't get those buttons at least squeaky, I don't know what it is, because we're about to hear from the Everytown lawyer, the chief litigation officer for Everytown Law, which is a gun control group founded by Michael Bloomberg. Some of the things he says here, something might stand out. Dr. Slides, can you play the first clip from the Everytown lawyer at that timestamp, please?
Is being taken. I'd like to thank, again, my office and members of my team And I'm proud to work alongside General Schwab and his team as we work together to tackle gun violence and that epidemic that is plaguing our communities and our region. And with that, I'll turn it over to Eric from Everytown.
Thank you very much, A.G. Brown and A.G. Schwab. My name is Eric Turell. I'm the Executive Director and Chief Litigation Counsel at Everytown Law. Everytown is proud to be partnering with the Attorney Generals of the District of Columbia and Maryland in this important case to address interstate gun trafficking. As far as we're aware, this is the first time that two neighboring Attorney Generals have come together to bring a case like this. And we know how important that is because gun trafficking does not stop at state lines. As alleged in today's complaint, 3 Rockville, Maryland gun stores put profits over public safety by facilitating the illegal distribution of firearms in the DC metropolitan area. The results have been regrettable but predictable. First, most of these firearms were transferred to a district resident with a lengthy and violent criminal history. That's Mr. Willis, who was mentioned earlier. Second, too many of these guns have already been recovered in connection with crimes in Washington, D.C. and in Maryland.
So he's a criminal with an extensive criminal record, and the ATF approved his purchases?
Well, no. Hold on. So you had the one gun runner who's the trafficker, who's the straw purchaser, right? And this is the part that's important. The straw purchaser was the one that he's going in and saying, and of course, I know you know this, but I'm saying for the audience. The straw purchaser is the guy who went in and bought all the guns, who was arrested and put in jail. The person, this guy, the Everytown Law is talking about, is an actual hardened criminal, a felon who had a gun in D.C., which, Tim, I'm pretty sure gun control would tell us that they stopped that.
Yeah, that's not supposed to happen.
It's weird. We got more examples coming, too. But Everytown Law is really on this, like a dog on the bone. It's they didn't mention the fact that there was existing gun control in that area, though. I don't know why that's weird.
Yeah, there's tons of gun control, and it seems like when the gun control laws fail, they want to blame the gun store.
That's so weird. I mean, let's just kind of, again, for the people, if they're tuning in late, we've got federal form 4473 through an actual gun shop. Legal guns sold under straw purchasing, which was a lie and misinformation and misleading actions by the criminal. You had the ATF, the FBI, and you had the state background check. All of these things. And they ended up with a felon in a gun control city with the highest gun murder rate in, I think, the United States, or the top 3. That's weird.
Let's put it this way. So you go to your local Chevy dealership and you buy a Corvette, and you decide to go down the road at 180 miles an hour. You hit a minivan and kill an entire family.
God dang.
Would it be okay for the state to then sue the dealership for selling you the Corvette, knowing that maybe you said something during the transaction that you intended to break the speed laws with it? You jokingly said something. Is it the dealership? And keep in mind, folks, the federal government, there is no law requiring the federal government to approve car transactions. Okay? No. So, but this is the case where the dealership literally is the only person involved in the transaction, right? There's no approval from the government.
Right.
So
that's the important piece.
Right. So do we hold the dealership accountable for the actions of the person that bought the car and did something dumb with it? Is it their fault? Are we going to sue every car manufacturer and car dealership out of existence because people break laws with those cars? Is that what we're going to do now? Because this does trickle down, folks. If you buy into this nonsense and you allow this nonsense to happen, that opens the door to suing everybody for action.
For everything.
Do you enjoy your Jack Daniels and your Coors Light? Well, guess what? Who can be sued for drunk driving and everything else, and wife beating and all the other bad stuff that comes from alcohol abuse? Are we going to hold the alcohol manufacturers accountable for the actions of the people that misuse their product? Really? Because that's where this goes.
You're 100% right. You are over the target. You are absolutely correct. And the idea, the thing that really bothers me about this is not an isolated case. This is not something that we've never seen before. We saw Mayor Kinney. I can't remember his first name. Oh, what's that dork's first name? Well, it doesn't matter. Mayor Kinney in Philadelphia where he was saying he's going to sue the gun shops out of existence, and he encouraged the victims to sue the gun shops out of existence. You had Polymer 80 that just shut its doors because it was sued out of existence from New Jersey, New York, and all those other AGs. And now you got these AGs going after these gun shops that are already few and far between in the DC area. I mean, guys, we're about to show you at the end of this what Everytown Law is openly threatening other gun shops with, because the same guy has a heck of a statement at the end. But understand, this is a designed and dedicated plan. This is not, oh, they did something wrong, let's hold them accountable. No, this is, if you're in a blue state and you're a gun shop dealer, you got a target on your back, flat out.
I've said this before. The entire 2A is being boxed in by the government and actors like this. And why do I say that? Because they keep making it more and more restrictive to buy firearms to exercise your rights. And then when somebody does something like this, they go after the FFL. That's what they're doing. They're blaming the gun store for the actions of criminals. Why is this a problem? Because under federal law, this is where we've boxed ourselves in. Under federal law, and the Gun Control Act 1968, which established a dealer network. Before 1968, you could buy a gun from Sears and Roebuck catalog and have it delivered to your house, no background check, no nothing. Just walk out on your porch, pick it up, and go shoot it and have a good time. In 1968 changed all that. They forced every new firearm to be sold through a licensed FFL dealer. Okay, so now we have the FFL dealer network. If you get rid of the FFL dealers, you sue them all out of existence. How do you exercise your rights?
Correct. No,
this is how we're boxing ourselves in. They're carrying out a long-term plan. Communists always do this. We sit here on the conservative side of the argument, and we react to idiocy like this, one instance at a time. We're not looking 50 years down the road. These Marxists are. They're looking 50 years down the road. They have a long-term plan. They know generationally they're probably going to die of old age before they finally get to where they're going, but they're going to get there. They're training the Gen Zers to carry this torch on. And they are actively trying to deny you your rights. Since they can't do it legislatively, they're going to do this underhanded BS.
Nailed it. That was it. That's exactly where we're going next in this next clip. They can't do it through constitutionality. They can't do it through the Bill of Rights. They can't do it through the Second Amendment repeal. They are going to do it through the infrastructure supply chain. That's exactly where we're going. All right. Tim, God, always on it. I'm glad we still haven't pushed your buttons. I'm glad.
You may get there.
So
we're getting close.
I'm getting close. That button's getting squeaky. I feel it. I'm just going to keep on poking it. So, Dr. Slide, this is stamp 1846.
And I want to give you a few examples of some of these recoveries. This is all laid out in the lawsuit that was filed earlier this morning. One of the guns sold by these stores was used by Mr. Willis to terrorize partygoers at a house in the District of Columbia, including by pointing the gun at partygoers' heads. Another gun was found in Prince George's County in the possession of a suspect in a stabbing. A third was recovered in the district from a fugitive with an active warrant for assault. 2 others were recovered along with illegal large-capacity magazines and illegal narcotics. Many more are still out on the street and unaccounted for.
Is that the best they got?
Not
a single person shot?
No, that's what they've got. They've got a bunch of felons in possession in a gun control zone. Yes, that's what they've got, too.
We found a gun that had an illegal high-capacity magazine. We got to stop this. I mean, wow. They cherry-picked these examples.
100%.
And this is the best. Well, he was at a party and he waved a gun around. Another guy had high-capacity magazines in a gun. Oh, my gosh. It's like,
another guy had drugs and stuff.
And drugs. The drugs that we want to legalize and give out free along with prophylactics and needles. But hey, right now we're gonna treat him like a criminal.
Don't forget gun locks. Oh, the Minnesota vending machines. That was a good episode. Yeah, so that's the proof here. The proof here is that felons circumvented federal law and state law and DC law, and now that's the gun shop's fault.
Another failure of gun control in the ATF and their mandated job of making sure this doesn't happen by conducting background checks and making sure every single transaction is above board and non-criminal in nature. And it's the gun shop's fault. Because they look at the ATF and go, hey, here's all the information. Do you want to approve this or deny it? And the ATF goes, yeah, go ahead. You can have that. Go ahead. They're approved. Mm-hmm. Now you, by law, have to transfer the gun to them.
Yep, it's required. That's
right?
weird.
It's no longer your gun as a dealer. After the ATF says it's their gun, it is their gun. But it's the store's
Right.
fault. It's the store's fault. We got to
definitely the
rein these
store's
stores in.
100%. Nailed it. And now the coup de grace, Tim. This is the point of what you just said. So what you, without knowing, you kind of predicted what this guy was about to say. If you guys want to see the plan, bonus for you guys being here towards the end of this episode, because this clip right here reveals the entire thing from the chief litigation officer from Everytown Law himself. This is clip 2115.
That was Judge Maida in this courthouse. Today is the beginning of these stores incurring those consequences. The remedies we're seeking include injunctive relief to make sure the stores stop facilitating illegal gun sales, as well as funds to abate the public nuisance that their actions have contributed to. So let me end by noting this is not the first time Everytown Law has teamed up with state and local officials to address and seek accountability from bad apple gun stores, and it will not be the last. This lawsuit should serve as a warning to any other gun store that believes that it can profit off of illegal straw sales. You are not immune from being sued. And if you are putting the safety of the public at risk, if you turn a blind eye to illegal purchases, if you are helping to fuel gun trafficking, you will have to answer for your actions in court.
So there you go.
Yeah. And this is nothing new, folks. I live in an area where the city of Chicago and other bad actors sued all the gun stores in the area, blaming the gun stores for the criminal behavior in Chicago. In Indiana, they were blaming Indiana gun shops for the crime in Chicago. And that went on forever. And the goal was never to win the court case.
No.
It was purely political. And it went on for like 20 years. It went on forever. And every time something political happened and they needed political something or other to go to the media with and say, hey, look what we're doing, we're fighting, they would bring this case back from the ashes somehow. I don't even know how this is legal. And then they would go after the gun stores again. Some of them would capitulate and just go out of business. Some paid the extortion money. But in the end, it took the state decades later passing a law to finally end this BS lawsuit that just kept being resurrected from the ashes, that purely was intended to harass gun stores under the exact same guise that this clown's doing it, right? We're going to blame the gun stores because the ATF approved the transaction. It is your fault. We're not going to hold the ATF financially accountable for whatever damages. We're going to hold the gun store financially accountable for the approval of the ATF.
Yep. Nailed it. I'm so, Tim, you know what? I'm really reflecting upon this recording. I'm really glad that you were able to hold strong and I didn't get those buttons. I just didn't.
You almost did it.
I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it in. But I tried.
You almost did it.
Maybe on the next one.
Maybe I can slip a bleep in here. Can I?
I mean, if you want.
All right.
Maybe in post. Maybe in post.
This guy. Maybe
Take us
Dr. Button Pusher. There it is. All right. Thanks for Thanks for watching Second Legacy. I flustered myself. Thanks for watching Second Legacy. We'll talk to you guys soon.